Welcome back. In our continued coverage on homelessness in our region, tonight we further examine one factor, the difficulty of returning to society once a person becomes homeless. According to the United Way, nearly a quarter of households in Spokane County are what they call ALICE households. That stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. These families typically face stagnant wages while costs rise, pushing them closer and closer to losing their home altogether. Nonstop Local's Adam Schweger reports tonight housing costs not only making it very difficult to stay in a home, but it's also becoming even more difficult for the homeless to get into housing.
Try, but it's just like a hamster wheel.
Nikolas Alltonen says he's caught in a vicious cycle. Homeless since 2012, he can't find anywhere to live, no matter what he has to offer.
And I offered literally 6 months of of rent as an additional deposit. They said now it has to run through a computer, and the computer says no because I just don't have enough bills in my name.
Alltonen has spent the last 3 years looking, but without recent rental or credit history, he says it's impossible.
Unless I get a good paying job like the last one, I won't find a place.
Sarah Littlejohn fears she could be trapped in the cycle next. After getting laid off, she had to move out because she found all of her monthly income going towards her $1,500 rent. With no place cheap enough to live, she had to move in with a friend.
There's not enough affordable housing, and there is a housing shortage in Spokane. There's a housing shortage in the state of Washington.
But what is affordable housing? The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development says it's when people spend 30% or less of their monthly income on housing costs, including utilities. So hypothetically, if you make $1,000 a month and $300 or less goes towards rent and utilities, it's considered affordable. But according to Eastern Washington University, just over half of Spokane County renters are paying more than that, with 28% paying more than half their monthly wage towards living expenses. In other words, more than a quarter of renters in Spokane are paying over $500 of their $1,000 monthly income on housing and utilities. That's the highest percentage since they started tracking in 2006. And authorities say the disparity is pushing people on the street.
But one thing that's very troubling, if you look instead at the number of chronically homeless people, that's been increasing at a much sharper rate. The chronically homeless are the ones that we see and really tend to are the most visible and give us the most grief.
Kelsey Carlston is an economics professor at Gonzaga and showed me how Spokane's home price index has been a leading indicator for the amount of people on the streets.
It's a very small city compared to some of the other ones that have had increases, which means that even a small change can cause a big shift in the number of people who have access to housing.
All the existing vouchers that we have out in the community have increased in cost on average every single month.
That's Kelly Keenan from the Spokane Housing Authority. He says many of the programs which have been helping people stave off homelessness are struggling to be funded. Recently, the federal government ordered the Housing Authority to stop issuing new housing choice vouchers, a program in which they pay a portion of the rent to private landlords directly to turn otherwise inaccessible housing to affordable housing.
And they've increased to the extent that when we look at the projections, we see that those assistance costs are going to go past the budget authority that HUD has provided us to distribute that assistance.
With the market even pricing out providers, the situation seems grim. And for people like Alltonen, who would be perfect candidates for these underfunded programs, getting off the streets as soon as possible is a matter of life or death.
You've been on the streets for over 2 or 3 years. Your health has declined to where, we've gotten people in housing, and unfortunately within the next month, they pass away.
It's impossible to get a place almost. And the more you try and the more you fail, you just feel like giving up on everything.
Reporting for Nonstop Local, I'm Adam Schweger.
And we here at Nonstop Local, we are dedicating our entire month of November to investigating the different angles, the different causes and the factors of homelessness in our region. Continuing our 6:30 show, we'll have an in-depth look at affordable housing, how one local city in our area is coming up with a brand new strategy to make it easier on families who need help. And if you would like to watch our previous stories that we've done this month already, you can check out our Helping Save Spokane page on our website, nonstoplocal.com. The QR code will take you there directly.